Yo, my name is Gibb. I want to give you guys a quick and easy free-to-play progression strategy on how to get to the top as a god gamer like myself. I'm level 52 right now, you know, nothing too crazy. I play this game blind. I have no idea what I'm doing. Psych, I know a little bit of what I'm doing here, but I want to give you guys a little free-to-play progression. I've gotten all of my bosses up to either Nightmare or Hell 4. I have all of my shell bosses at Inferno, but Inferno gets a little crazy. I'm not gonna lie. They get a little spooky, you know. They get start moving crazy on Inferno. I'm not gonna lie. Then we also have the modules, you know what I'm saying, like Hell 4. This guy starts going crazy Hell 4. I actually got her Hell 4, and she's on Inferno. I'm never clearing Inferno anytime soon. Then we have her at Hell 4. That's not happening anytime soon for Inferno anyways, though. So, you know, it's fine to take it a little slow, take it a little chill, you know what I'm saying? But first things first, you just started a new account. What should you be doing? You're going to be refreshing for 4 to 7 days in a row, yes. So if you do 7 days in a row, that's going to cost 7k gems. If you do 4 days, it's going to cost 4k gems. Now you're going to be like, oh my god, that's all my gems. What about my pools? You get a ton of pools just progressing through the game. There's this thing called the Hyperlink Charter. It's going to give you a ton of rewards. You're going to get this character called Leanne for free, and building her up is going to give you a bunch of progression stuff. And after you build her up, you don't care about the character anymore. They're going to give you a reset, which is going to be very nice here. As you can see in Animus Fate to 1, all you need to go through is all of these trainings and stuff, and after you finish that with Leanne, you are going to be able to reset her if you don't want to play her anymore. I don't think she's that bad of a character though, but a lot of people usually have other characters and stuff that they want to play. Another thing, by the way, for when you are training Leanne, she has 2 things. One of them is upgrading any of Leanne's skill 1 time. That one's pretty simple, but then she has a second one, which I've had multiple people get caught up on, even myself, and it's upgrade any of Leanne's skill 2 times. Now, I'm not gonna lie, this sounds like, right, you can upgrade any of Leanne's skills, and you just need to upgrade it twice, right? But the way it's worded, it kind of seems like you can just upgrade 2 skills and that counts. You need to upgrade 1 skill 2 times. For a reference on what that actually looks like here, if we go to my Rosa, so my prowess right here, if we're talking about my skill, you would have to use 2 lattices on her. So it would be going from level 2 to level 3 on 1 skill, not 2, 1 skill. So that is one thing to keep in mind that is very important. Now, let's say you want to re-roll, or just what character should you be going for in. Real quick, before going through characters and what they do and everything, just skip through that if you don't care about the characters, like you already know what re-roll you're going for. I want to talk about the gacha and how much pulls you get. For me, playing for just about like 2 weeks here, I've summoned over 450 times. This stops at 450. I'm pretty sure I've summoned way more than that. So just an idea of how much pulls you get in this game. Now, obviously, it will slow down, but that is something you should keep in mind in terms of, like, if you think you're going to, like, you know, burn through all your gems from refreshing and everything. Also, another thing I forgot to add as well is you should be pretty much only summoning on the permanent summon banner unless you really want one of the raid up characters. I think Holden is a very good character. I'll go into him once I start talking about the characters. But, yeah. Pretty much only summon on the permanent summon banner. Crazy enough, the Etheria restart permanent summon is kind of the highest value in the game. You just keep summoning on this bad boy, and whatever you get, you know, you hope you get the juice and you get max win here. Besides that, nothing too crazy on it to talk about there. Also, you get a targeted character. You can save it for later if you're trying to really min-max and wait till you go through a couple pities if you don't get a character you like. But a guy like me, I saw Rosa day 1. I was locked in. I was like, God, I got to get me a Rosa, yes. Etheria restart here. I want to do a quick little run through of just all the characters. Doki Doki, she's a RNG kind of cooldown refunder, and she does turn meter for your team. Mio is turn meter for your team. She's a turn meter stealer, and she has a freeze. Masi is an all-around DPS. When his ult goes off, he gives himself invincibility. Kind of insane. He can clear most of the content in the game. I think most people, if you invest in him a lot, you can clear like pretty much everything in the game if you do it correctly, you know what you're doing. Shadow Sonya is going to allow you to clear all of the endgame bosses. All of the, right now, everyone clears the Inferno mode difficulties with Shadow Sonya. There's like a whole drama going around on Shadow Sonya that she was like the worst character in the game, and then everyone clears everything in Inferno mode. Lily is arguably one of the best supports in the game. She's able to steal cooldowns from the enemy and also boost up your team and just spam, give them turn meter. She's an insane character. Heinrich, he's like the best defense or like buff stripper in the game. You know, stripper means like take away the enemy's buffs. Then we have Holden, who is a new character that just recently came out. He is a god defensive character, but you can also have him go really fast and use him for his dispel. He also has a dispel as well, and he can also do an attack down on the enemy, which is really nice. And this guy is crazy in PvP. I think this is one of the most free-to-play friendly units in the game. I'm not gonna lie, I think he does literally everything that you could need in a unit. He has also he can make it so that the enemy has a 100% chance to maximize all of their skill cooldown, which means if someone was about to get their skill and it was like a 4-turn cooldown, you're putting that junk back up to 4, baby. Yep, they're going crazy. We have Beyontin here. Where is Beyontin? I can't see her. I'm like blind. Beyontin, if you played HSR, she's like Bronya, and she can also revive people, which is kind of insane. She's just an all-around insane support character. She is probably one of the best buffing support characters because Lily is all turn meter and like action forwarding everything and delaying the enemy and the cooldowns. She can give a crit damage buff, but Beyontin is full buffing character. And then she also has the action forward and the revive, which is really nice. Then there is Koloro. He's just a solid single target character. Nothing really crazy to say about him. We have Hellkid. Hellkid is a pretty insane sustain character. He gives a shield to your whole team, and while they're shielded, they get immunity, which means they can't have any debuff placed on them, but it only lasts for the duration, which means this can get cleansed from you in PvP. He also has stuns and stuff in his kit. Pretty insane. Next, we have Leanne. She is your starter 5-star character that you get for free. I don't think she's that bad, I'm not going to lie, but most people are probably going to refresh her. But if you ever need a red DPS, I think she is solid to keep invested in if you like how she plays. She also is able to self-sustain herself, which is really huge. And she's also able to steal turn meter as well, which is pretty nice on a DPS going there. But then lastly, we have Kloss. Kloss, pretty insane support. She's able to do turn meter down. She's able to make the enemy take more damage and do less damage. She can steal turn meter, and she's perma debuffs them. She's pretty much Silver Wolf in a PvP game if you played HSR. And then we have Romoka. Romoka is the she is the Doki Doki farmer. I think most people have her built just for Doki Doki. Doki Doki is where you get your speed sets, your and your defense sets. You get your speed sets, your defense sets. Those come from Doki. Obviously, everyone wants a speed. You want to outspeed people in PvP. Romoka does help you there, but you don't need Romoka for Doki Doki, but it is very nice because if you max out her ult, it's kind of just like a free win. Next here, we have Freya. Freya, God support. She was the first raid-up unit. Now we have Holden and Hoyan. She's still insane. She's good in PvP and PvE. I use her to clear literally everything in the game. She gives you a defense buff. She can do a turn meter on the enemy. And she does, you take more damage, or the enemy take more damage, you take less damage. Yeah. Then we have... we have Rahu. Rahu's just a defensive follow-up character. He's able to do a defense shred as well with his basic attack. He's kind of like a turn 2 character. So you have a bunch of people go. He's just going to be following up with your team. And then he also is able to follow up with his passive when he gets these like wrap stats. Next we have Linglo. You're going to get her for free after 7 days. She's just a very solid healer. Her ult gives you immunity. Her second skill is able to make it so that any buffs you have on your characters, they get refreshed for another turn. Pretty nice. And then her basic attack is a free heal. Before you get Linglo, you're going to be using the 4-star Sania. She's not a bad character, honestly. I think she's pretty solid if you actually invest into her. Most people, though, are probably going to stop investing into her once they get the Linglo. But I don't think she's a bad character to have. I honestly wouldn't even reset her because she's a 4-star. So you're only going to use purple lattices, which is pretty nice. So, yeah, she also has a revive, which is pretty huge. Revives are pretty rare in the game. I think there's only 2 or 3 characters that can revive someone on your team. And then lastly, for blue 5-star characters here, or SSRs, we have Tsukiyomi. She's kind of like a, I guess, not as good version of Lily. She's a little bit different, but she gives you an attack buff, a speed buff, and she can increase someone's turn meter by 100% full action forward when you fully invest in her. When it's not fully invested, I think it's at 60%. And her skill can also reduce your whole team's cooldowns, which is pretty nice there. And then there is Rosa. Rosa is my GOAT. She is a AoE cleave DPS on her ult, but she's more consistent damage after ult goes off. And she just is able to keep stealing turn meter and consistently dish out damage, which is really nice. Then there is Borg. He is a non-crit scaling DPS, so that means he has just higher base scalings, and he's also able to self-sustain himself, and his ult has a dispel on it, which is pretty nice. And there is also Giada, which is kind of like Rosa, but different in a sense where she stacks up her burst, and when she gets buffs, she's able to stack up her ult, and the more buffs she gets, the stronger her ult gets, which is pretty nice. And she also has a defense shred in her own kit, which is pretty nice as well. I think that's everyone I wanted to talk about here. I hope I didn't miss anyone. I think I got everyone down and packed there. Anyone else I didn't talk about, they're not as good currently in the, you know, meta of things and re-rolling and all of that type of stuff. Now, I wanted this video to be really short, but I did want to get through talking about all of the characters and everything. Now, going through your progression on just playing through the game and everything. Once you start, you're going to be like day 1 through 3, just do the story. Once you unlock shells and modules, you want to try to push whatever difficulties you can do. You're going to be, you know, at these normal difficulties here, just try to clear through them. For Terramaton, you really want a, you know, your Leanne, she's probably going to be putting in work. It depends what characters you get. If you end up with the early game Ting, that would be insane. He's going to help you fight literally every boss in the game. But a big thing to check, if you don't know what you should be clearing with, don't go to clear time, go to recent clear and check what people are using to clear that boss that you're fighting. This is at the like highest tier, like I said, Shadow Sonya. You know, you're on normal right here, see what people have been clearing with on their DPS and everything, and you can get, you know, a little idea of what possibly you could be using for your account to get an idea of, you know, what characters you can be using to do that. And you can do that for any boss in the game. You can just check recent clears here and give you a nice gist of what you're doing. And you can also check out their stats and everything to try to match with them on what they got going on. You can click on their skills, see how invested in their characters are, all of that type of stuff. Really nice to know on that. Now, trying not to go all over the place here. While you're progressing through the story, by the way, make sure that you are skipping as many fights as possible until you get to a later fight. I think some of the later fights in the story, they do give you some decent gear, but it's like purple gear. But there's some fights you can't skip, obviously. But do try to skip as many fights as you can, because when you do a fight in the story, it will cost you 5 stamina. So every 2 fights you're doing, that's 10 stamina. And that's a module drop, a shell drop, an Animus EXP, you know. Right there. Make sure you're also doing your events and everything though, but realistically, you're not going to be able to do that many events. When I started out, we had Cubic Game. Cubic Game's rerunning right now. I couldn't beat Cubic Game for 2 days. On the 3rd day though, I started pumping, you know, I started beating Cubic Game pretty easy. I don't think the events are supposed to be hard. It's just once you start out, you don't really have anything to really go with on it. Stocking for shells here. Shells at the start of the game, you're trying to get up to, is it Apate? It is not Apate. It is, you're trying to get up to Phoebean, Little Phoebe. And you're trying to get this Black Flag and this Twilight Knight. These are going to be huge for your DPS and your supports. Either one can use either one of these, literally. Now, this one is more DPS focused, obviously, but I think this is pretty clutch on your support sometimes because you get a little extra bonus damage and some extra defense shred, which I think is huge. And then this guy just gives you a lot of speed and also does some damage as well. Yeah, so this is going to be the shell you're going to be farming the most until you unlock Nico Nana. And you're going to get Nico Nana at level... Nico Nana comes at level 32. So yeah, you're going to be going for Nico Nana here, and you're going to be trying to farm for this White Fang guy. And you're pretty much going to be in the White Fang mines for a very long time here. I'm still farming White Fang. That's how much you're going to be farming this guy. He's your, you know, DPS, go-to DPS guy. After your character hits and they do a crit, you get crit damage, goes up to 50% crit damage. Pretty insane there. But there's also other DPS shells that you are going to be able to get. Another thing I wanted to add on top of refreshing, by the way, make sure you do save your stamina pots for the 2x event. I don't know how they're going to do the 2x event if you're on a new server. I'm assuming they're just going to delay it by a little bit since they have the events like kind of rerunning there. I think if you're playing on like server 4, which just came out, you probably still have Freya banner on right now. So yeah, they do have that. So just save your pots for whenever the 2x event comes out for your server. You're going to be able to get a lot of pots. Another thing is make sure you're going through the shops here and like getting all of the goodies. I think one of the most important things to be getting is these red shadow prints and the lattice fragments. Lattices are very rare, even the purple ones. So make sure you're going through all your shops and getting the stuff you can get. Another huge thing that you should be doing as well is trying to join a union. Even if you just join like a, you know, just random union, you can still go in that union and get the daily check-in, and you can get the union assist rewards. And these are actually pretty good rewards. And eventually you'll probably go into like a different union, maybe, unless you actually join a union that you want to stay in. And you can just go into these people and gift them and get some union coins and some credits, which is really nice here. If you are trying to get a character from this, it does take 50 days. So you got a while to go. You know, you got a long while to go for sure on actually getting a dupe of a character, but eventually you will get one. Anything else I wanted to address? I think that's about it. So I think that's all I wanted to talk about here. Yeah. I mean, Etheria, I mean, so far, it hasn't been really that hard. Like I said, you're farming shells and stuff, and you're getting stuck at a boss. The bosses I got stuck at in my playthrough were Apate. I got stuck for literally like a little bit. I literally just went and farmed the shells a little bit, and then I started smoking her. Make sure you have a shell that's leveled up on your character. It's literally just free base stats. Shells are insane for your characters when you're starting out. So it's like huge for your characters. Also, before you get the shark and the other guy, or like a little turbo dude, using the lizard with the gun, this guy is insane for early game. I'm not gonna lie. I don't think you should hard invest in it, but just so you can get the stats, I think you'd have this on your whole team. This one's massive. You get the extra 15% bonus damage, and he does damage as well, which is really huge. And this damage is like a lot early game. Falls off later, obviously, because you have way better shells, but that guy is pretty nice early. Other stuff, though, once you unlock Ether Arena and PvP, just make sure you're doing your daily battles. I highly recommend challenging the person on the far left, so you don't have to care about, you don't have to think about your fight at all. Usually the person on the left is pretty easy to fight. And then for whenever you unlock RTA, I think you unlock RTA like way later. RTA is kind of tough, especially in bronze. You could either be against like a ultra mega whale, or you could be against a bot, or you could be against someone even level. And then at that point, it's just, you gotta lock in and win your battle. But Apate, yeah, got stuck for a little bit. Then I beat her. Karudu, this guy, I needed to use my Leanne. You just really need to kill the jellyfish, and then after you kill the jellyfish, you can kill him. You should need pretty much just like a DPS check for sure. You need to be able to DPS him through the jellyfish phase, because he stops attacking you after you kill the jellyfish, and then you can go for him. But yeah, like I said, I cleared everything on my account with the Rosa. As you can see here, literally everything in the game, I have pretty much been a full Rosa one trick. I got my guy Diddy I forgot when I get to Ting. I don't know. But once I got to Ting, I started using him as like a sub DPS, just to go with my Rosa. But besides that, I'm pretty much just using only Rosa to clear everything in the game. So if you are you see Rosa, you're like, damn, she got the gams going on. Hey, Rosa is the GOAT, Don't let anyone put any propaganda on you. Rosa should clear the whole game easy clear the whole game. But yeah, besides that, I think that's all of the stuff I wanted to talk about in terms of free-to-play progression, all of that. If you have any questions down below, I'll answer all the comments, all of that. I hope you guys, like I said, twitch.tv/Gibb. I stream just about like every day. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Anything I missed, let me know, and besides that, see ya. Good.